Father quit his stable job. He sent his son to daycare. Then he rushed to the adoption agency. He was ready to give his son to someone else to raise. The staff felt this was strange. They thought he was very irresponsible. The father saw they did not understand, so he explained the reason. He said he had an incurable serious illness. He only had less than 3 months to live. The child's mother left after the child was born, and never came back again. He could not imagine after he died, how a 3-year-old child would live alone. The staff fell silent after hearing this. They felt sympathy for him. Then they asked him to fill out adoption papers. The father followed the process. After finishing, he returned to daycare, ready to pick up his son. Today the son was in a bad mood. He was hiding under the table, refusing to come out. The father called him out. The son did not respond. The father looked at him and felt even more pain. He thought about how other children had many toys, while his son only had simple things to play with. He knew he could not give him a complete life, but sometimes he still could not stop himself from being strict with him. One day the son picked up unfinished yogurt. The father suddenly became nervous. He quickly took it away. He very strictly told his son he could never touch food he had eaten before. The father feared his illness might affect his son, but the son did not understand at all. He only felt his father was becoming more and more strange. The father began arranging meetings with adoptive families. The first family lived in a big house. The environment looked very good. The couple seemed very warm. They said they could give the child the best education and provide an excellent life. At first the father thought it might work, but after learning they already had children, he began to hesitate. He worried his son might be treated differently, and worried they could not be fair. He did not dare to decide easily, so he kept looking for other options. The father did not make a decision right away. He knew this would affect his son's entire life. Then he continued taking his son to meet different families. The second adoptive family seemed more gentle. They were well dressed and spoke politely. They said they did not plan to have children. They just wanted to experience being parents, and were willing to fully care for the child. Their home was clean and warm. Toys and small decorations were on the table. The son was attracted to a stuffed toy. He reached out to touch it. The man noticed this and handed him the toy. The atmosphere felt natural. The father began to relax a little. He felt this one might be suitable. But just before leaving, the woman quietly signaled the man to take the toy back. The man hesitated, then took the toy from the child's hand. The movement was gentle, but the father saw it clearly. His heart sank. He realized the kindness was only on the surface. When it came to real details and interests, they were not truly patient. He began to reevaluate the couple. On the way back, the son sat in the back seat, and suddenly asked what adoption was. The father did not answer right away. He did not know how to explain. He could only respond in simple words. He said, if father is not good enough, someone else can become your father. The son had no strong reaction. He just looked out the window quietly. The father felt even heavier. He understood the child was too young, and could not understand these changes. In the following days, the father's illness became more obvious. He often had headaches, and his body became weaker, but he still insisted on taking his son out. He read stories at night, took him to the park during the day, and even took him to see machines near construction sites. The son was very curious, always watching quietly. The father knew time was limited, so he tried to stay with him as much as possible. He wanted to leave more memories for the child, while he was still able. Although the son was very young, he was very caring. One day he saw his father sleeping. He gently took a small blanket and covered him. He also poured water for him, then sat quietly beside him. When the father woke up, he saw all of this, and gently touched his son's head. But the illness did not stop getting worse. He realized time was running out. When the third family appeared, things became more complicated. This family had a special structure, different backgrounds and multiple children. They said they treated all children equally, and this would be their last adoption. The father observed carefully at first, but soon noticed details. One child in the house had a bad attitude. He was rude to adults, and showed rejection toward the new child. Even the youngest child looked hostile. The son felt nervous, slowly pulled his toy back, and moved closer to his father. The father noticed his reaction, and realized this place was not suitable. Even if it looked complete, it was not emotionally safe. He finally refused this adoption. On the way back to the car, the father became silent again. He looked out the window. His heart grew heavier. The son asked about animals. His voice was soft and innocent. The father did not know how to answer. He could only respond simply. He became more aware that none of the choices were perfect. But time kept running out. The father's condition worsened. Headaches became more frequent. He realized he had very little time left. He needed to find a final home for his son quickly. During a walk, the son saw a dead beetle. He squatted down and looked at it curiously. He asked why it was not moving. The father was silent for a moment, then told him in the simplest way that it was dead. The son did not fully understand. He just looked quietly. The father did not explain further. He knew the child was too young to understand death. Then the father continued taking his son to a few final families. One of them was a single woman. She had lost her own child before, and later lost the chance to become a mother again. She said she just wanted to be a mother once more, and give all her love to a child. Her home was ordinary, without fancy decorations. She placed some candy on the table, for the child to use as toys. The son was quickly attracted, and played quietly. The father observed. He saw the woman's eyes were very gentle, and focused on the child. He felt this might be a possible choice. The woman shared her past simply. Her tone was calm, but her experiences were heavy. The father listened without interrupting. He also began to think about his own childhood. He grew up in unstable environments, moving through different foster homes. He understood what losing belonging felt like, but he wanted his son to have a stable future. On the day they left, the father saw a stranger child on the road. That child walked freely, and looked confident. The father watched for a long time, until the child disappeared into the crowd. He began comparing that child with his own son, one full of future, one about to lose his father. The contrast made him even more silent. The next day he returned to the agency. He hoped to find the child's biological mother, but the staff said it was almost impossible. No information had been left behind, and she was not eligible for adoption again. The father had to give up the idea. That day was his birthday. He made a cake with his son. Candles were placed on top. The son handed him another candle. The father paused. He understood this was the child's way of expressing love, simple but sincere. He did not say much, just nodded gently. At night he left the house alone, and stood on a bridge for a long time. He looked at the city lights. His emotions were heavy. Memories kept coming back. But reality could not change. He knew time was almost gone. After returning home he bathed his son. His movements were slower, and quieter. He helped him change into pajamas. But the son suddenly resisted, refused to wear them, and threw some toys on the floor. This was his first clear emotional outburst. The father froze at first, then did not scold him. He just watched quietly. He realized the child might already feel separation. They slowly calmed down, and sat together under the light drawing pictures. The atmosphere became peaceful again. The father asked a simple question. The son mentioned the woman they had met before. The father stayed silent for a while. He began to rethink all his choices. He understood that real family was not just conditions, but whether there was true love and acceptance. A few days later he began organizing everything. He passed by a church and cemetery, but did not stop. He just walked on calmly. He began accepting his ending. He sold his car, and took his son to an amusement park. They tried many rides they had never tried before. That day they laughed a lot, and also stayed very quiet, as if they were using up all remaining time. After that the father prepared final arrangements. He wrote many letters, to be delivered on every future birthday of his son. He placed photos inside, candles inside, and his mother's photo, his work hat, and daily tools. All memories he left behind. On the last morning, he brought his son to the final chosen woman's house. He let his son ring the doorbell. When the door opened, the woman greeted them with a smile. The father stood aside, watching his son walk into a new life. The son looked back at him once. The father simply nodded gently, without saying anything. At that moment everything became quiet. The child walked into the new home. The father stood outside, then slowly turned away, as if finishing a long farewell.